Robert Reynolds was a man whose life seemed to embody success and contentment. He owned a sprawling hotel in the bustling heart of the city, a place where people from all walks of life came to rest, dine, and celebrate. The hotel was his pride and joy, a symbol of his hard work and dedication. Robert was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a warm smile that could light up any room, and his eyes sparkled with ambition and kindness. His wife, Emily, was a gentle woman with a soothing voice and a heart full of love. Her smile was always a source of comfort for Robert, and she was the backbone of their home. Together they had a son named Jack, who was just 9 years old at the time. Jack was a lively boy, curious, mischievous, and full of dreams, but he also carried a certain restlessness in his eyes. Despite their happiness, Robert often felt a quiet worry about his son's future. Robert believed in giving his family everything they needed: comfort, security, and a good education. Yet, beneath this veneer of prosperity, he harbored a small, persistent concern about Jack. The boy's grades were sometimes inconsistent, and he was known to backtalk his parents, challenging their authority. Robert thought that perhaps, in some way, Jack was still searching for his place in the world, for something more than material comfort. One evening, as Robert returned from a long day at the hotel, he was caught in a traffic jam that seemed unending. The city's roads were congested, and frustration bubbled within him. He parked his car by the roadside and stepped out, taking a deep breath to calm himself. As he looked around, his eyes fell upon a boy sitting alone on the sidewalk. The boy was small, thin, with dirt smudged across his face. He looked up as Robert approached, and before Robert could say a word, the boy offered to polish his shoes. Surprised but amused, Robert agreed. The boy knelt, carefully polishing his shoes with a rag he had brought along. As he worked, he looked up at Robert and hesitated before speaking. "Sir, your shoes seem dull. Should I polish them?" Robert chuckled softly. "All right, go ahead," he said, removing his shoes and handing them over. The boy worked diligently, his small hands moving with a surprising grace. Then he looked up again, eyes filled with innocence. "Sir, my name is David. I live right here on the streets." Robert's brow furrowed. "On the streets? But how can someone live on the streets?" David looked down, voice soft. "Sir, people like you may find it hard to imagine, but people like us have no other choice. My parents, they are no longer here. They died in a car accident. I have no one left. I am all alone." Hearing this, Robert's heart softened. The boy's words carried a weight that touched him deeply. He looked at the dirt-streaked face and saw the sadness in those young eyes. Without hesitation, Robert felt a surge of compassion. "Son," Robert said gently, "I don't feel right seeing you like this. Come with me. My family is small, but we can help. If you stay with us, it will be good for you, and it will bring some joy into our home too. Will you come?" David's eyes brightened with hope. He nodded eagerly, and Robert, feeling a sense of purpose, took him in his arms gently. He helped the boy up and led him to his car. As they drove towards Robert's house, the boy looked out the window, dreamily imagining what life might be like in a warm home. When they arrived, Robert introduced David to his wife, Emily. She was initially surprised, but quickly warmed up to the boy's innocence and gratitude. She looked at Robert and saw the kindness in his eyes, the same kindness she had fallen in love with years ago. Without hesitation, she welcomed David, saying softly, "From today, he's our second son." The days that followed were filled with small joys. Emily made sure David felt at home, giving him clothes, food, and affection. Robert took him under his wing, teaching him about the hotel business, and David eagerly learned everything. He was a bright boy, quick to grasp things and eager to help. Jack, however, was different. though he was only 9. He sensed something about David that he didn't like. The boy's presence seemed to threaten his own place in the family. Jack was often mischievous, teasing David, mocking his ragged clothes, and calling him names when no one was watching. Despite his young age, Jack had a stubborn streak and didn't like sharing his parents' attention. One day, Jack's attitude reached a new low during a family picnic. He deliberately knocked over David's food, causing the boy's face to fall. Emily scolded Jack gently, but Jack's eyes flashed with defiance. The boy was jealous, feeling that David was invading his territory of love and attention. As weeks turned into months, David and Jack continued to live under the same roof. While Emily and Robert showered love on both children, Jack's attitude remained cold and distant. He did not speak much to David, and when he did, it was often sarcastic or teasing. One night, David, lying in his bed, noticed Jack sneaking out of their room. Curious, he quietly followed. Jack tiptoed into their parents' room, and after a while, came out with something wrapped in a black cloth. David's heart pounded with curiosity. He watched silently, puzzled by what he saw. The next morning, David's mind was troubled. He kept thinking about that night. Should he tell his parents? Did Jack do something wrong? His young mind was filled with questions. He decided to keep quiet for now, but the seed of doubt and suspicion was planted deep inside him. 15 years went by like a fleeting moment. Jack and David had grown into young men, each with their own dreams and ambitions. Jack was now a handsome, confident boy, while David was strong and hardworking. One day, Jack returned home with a girl by his side. Her name was Sarah. She was proud, confident, and had an air of arrogance about her. Jack announced they had gotten married, his court marriage, without informing his parents first. Emily and Robert, now older, were stunned. They looked at Sarah, trying to understand her attitude. She was polite but distant, her eyes filled with a sense of superiority. Despite her pride, she was also clearly unhappy. She seemed to dislike David from the moment she set eyes on him. Sarah's attitude grew colder, and her suspicion of David deepened. She believed that David's simple background and his close relationship with Jack could threaten her plans for the future. She saw him as a potential obstacle to her ambitions, especially when she suspected that the family's property might be divided or inherited. One day, Sarah approached Jack with a sinister plan. She whispered into his ear, her voice dripping with cunning, "Listen, Jack. Your brother, David, might get a share of the property someday. We should do something about it. I have a plan." Jack, young and impressionable, hesitated but was carried away by her words. Sarah's plan was simple but cruel. She would use her influence to remove David from the family to secure her own future. One afternoon, as David sat in the spacious hall, Sarah went to the bathroom. She saw an opportunity and approached David, pretending to need a towel. "Hey, can you pass me a towel, brother?" she asked sweetly. David, ever helpful, reached for a towel on the sofa. "Mom and Dad are in the lawn with you." "No problem, just toss it in." Sarah, however, had a wicked plan. "The towel is on the sofa," she said, feigning innocence. David picked up the towel and headed toward the bathroom. Suddenly, she grabbed him roughly and pulled him inside. "What happened?" she screamed. Hearing her scream, Emily, Robert, and Jack rushed into the bathroom. The door swung open, revealing David and Sarah. Sarah had tears in her eyes. "Sarah, what happened?" Robert asked anxiously. "I asked him for a towel and he entered the bathroom," she cried. David, confused and hurt, pleaded, "No, sister, you pulled me in." Jack, angry and impulsive, slapped David twice. The scene was chaotic. Robert and Emily stood stunned, unable to understand what was happening. Their hearts sank as they saw their trusted son being falsely accused and beaten. "You got food, love, and money in this house, yet how dare you do this?" Robert yelled, voice trembling with rage. David's eyes filled with tears. His parents said nothing, and that silence cut him deeply. He looked down, feeling betrayed and humiliated. "Get out of here before I call the police," Robert shouted. David left the house, tears streaming down his face. He wandered away, heartbroken and confused, clutching the shame of false accusations. Sarah's smile was cold and triumphant. "Did you see how well our plan worked?" she whispered to Jack. "You're really clever, darling." Meanwhile, David decided not to give up. He borrowed money from a merchant and started a small stall selling snacks. It was modest work, but it was honest and steady. He lived in a small rented house, working tirelessly to earn his livelihood. One evening, Robert and Emily were watching TV at home when a lawyer arrived unexpectedly. The lawyer unfurled a legal document that stunned everyone. "I'm here to show you this," the lawyer said gravely. "Mr. Robert, I have a legal notice. You have transferred all your property to your daughter-in-law, Sarah. These are your signatures on the document." Robert's heart sank as he looked at the papers. He remembered signing some documents 2 days ago, supposedly for constructing rooms behind the hotel. He had signed without reading carefully. "Jack! How could you do such a betrayal?" Robert's voice trembled with shock and anger. Jack, now a young man, looked down, guilt evident in his eyes. "Dad, I only wanted to help. I thought I was doing the right thing." But Robert's anger was palpable. "You transferred everything, our home, our business. Now we have nothing." Sarah, with a triumphant smile, interrupted. "Now your property belongs to me. You can't do anything about it." Robert and Emily were heartbroken. They had lost everything: home, dignity, and security. Their world had crumbled. The loss of their home and possessions left Robert and Emily devastated. They wandered the streets, homeless and broken. Jack, under Sarah's influence, had severed all ties with his parents. His heart was filled with regret, but also a sense of helplessness. In stark contrast, David was struggling but hopeful. He had managed to save some money and was slowly building a new life. Despite the hardships, he remained kind and compassionate. One day, as Robert and Emily sat exhausted near a food cart, they noticed a familiar face approaching. It was David. "Dad, Mom," David exclaimed, rushing to touch their feet. Tears welled up in their eyes as they looked at their son, who had grown into a fine young man. "How are you, son?" "We're so sorry for everything," Emily whispered. David looked at them tenderly. "Don't say that. You are my parents, and I love you. I could never forget you. When I was thrown out, I didn't blame you. It wasn't your fault. I only want you to be happy." He fed them his humble food snacks and took them to his small rented house. That night, for the first time in days, the family felt a sense of peace and belonging. Meanwhile, David had uncovered a secret, something that would change everything. One day, he took his parents into a quiet forest near their home. Deep beneath a large banyan tree, he started digging with a shovel. His parents watched in curiosity. "Son, what are you doing?" Robert asked. "Just wait a little," David replied patiently. Suddenly, the shovel hit something hard. David eagerly pulled it out, revealing a heavy, ornate pot filled with gleaming gold jewelry. "Dad, look at this!" David exclaimed. Robert and Emily stared in disbelief. "Where did you find this?" Emily asked. David explained that he had secretly followed Jack one night when he stole jewelry from the house. He had dug up the jewelry and hidden it here, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. He had kept it safe all these years, fearing it might cause trouble. The family decided to sell the jewelry. With the proceeds, they built a new hotel and bought a better house. Their lives took a turn for the better, and they worked together, running the hotel with renewed hope. One day, a poor man arrived at their hotel in a terrible condition. He looked battered and worn, his clothes torn and his eyes filled with sorrow. Robert recognized him instantly. The man was none other than Jack. Dade. Jack's voice trembled as he looked at his parents. "Don't call me Dad," Robert said coldly. "If we were your real parents, you wouldn't have abandoned us on the streets." Jack fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Dad, I didn't abandon you. I left because I was afraid of Sarah's cruelty. I thought I was protecting you all. I made a terrible mistake, and now I'm paying for it." Robert's anger softened slightly. "You only thought of yourself. That's why you left us to suffer." Jack looked up, remorseful. "I realize now how much I lost. I was blinded by pride and fear. I want to make amends." David stepped forward and embraced Jack. "Brother, it's never too late. Come with us. We'll give you a second chance." Jack nodded, tears still falling. He had finally found his way back to his family, the family he had lost but never truly abandoned. In the end, love and forgiveness triumphed over greed, pride, and betrayal. Robert, Emily, David, and Jack rebuilt their lives together, bound by a renewed sense of family and hope. They learned that no matter how far one strays, the return to love is always possible if one has a pure heart. And so, the story of their journey, of pain, betrayal, redemption, and reunion, became a testament to the enduring strength of love. It reminded everyone that the greatest treasures in life are not material possessions, but the bonds of family and the power of forgiveness.